And good morning again, everybody. 710 KNUS Denver's talk station, Saturday, February 28th, 2026. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather, beauty, 70 the high, 65 Saturday, 70 Saturday, 65 Sunday, Monday, 67 degrees. Well, as I woke up this morning, and all of you were waking up as well, the U.S. and Israel have attacked Iran. The governments around the world, everyone's making the kinds of statements you can expect. U.S. allies and adversaries are responding to the joint attacks launched today by the U.S. and by Israel on Iran, and some Americans, close partners, are describing the situation as grave and perilous. We had scheduled Professor David Smith on his first book, the book on Audie Murphy, and it just fits in that he stays with us this morning. So from Baylor University, David Smith is our guest online. He'll stay another segment with us. I was thinking during the break to utilize you while I have you. This idea is that the United States of America is going to stop the Iranians from getting a nuke. How many nations now have a nuke? How many are in the club?
Let's see. There's us. There's China, there's Russia, there's North Korea. That's 4. There's Britain and France. There's South Africa. There's Pakistan, and there's India. And what's that? 7?
Yeah.
8?
That's
and I think that's it. And I think that countries like Iran, countries like North Korea, countries like Libya back earlier, saw that the best strategic use of having a nuclear weapon is for insurance against an attack like this. And I think one of the reasons that Iran wanted a nuclear weapon was not necessarily to explicitly threaten its neighbors, but it was going to be an insurance policy against the United States doing something like this.
What I thought when all of this happened was George W. Bush came up with the axis of evil, the North Koreans, the Iranians, and, of course, the Iraqis.
Right.
And then he said that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. And, of course, he did not. But I always fathomed that out like, you live down the street from me and my 2 neighbors, and you walk up the street and say, the 3 of you got guns. I'm coming back after you. And none of us have guns. Or I don't know if we have guns or not, but then you come back and you come to me and you kick down my door and you loot my house and you raid it and you wreck everything, saying that I have a gun, and in fact I don't. And so the other 2 neighbors are watching, and what are they going to do? I'm going to go get a gun.
They're going to get a gun.
They're going to get a gun, absolutely. And I think that what George W. and Dick Cheney did was exactly that. These guys look at each other and say, yes, you do. No, we don't. Well, then look what happened to Saddam. And I'm not a Saddam fan, but if Saddam were alive today, I don't think any of this would be happening.
It's unavoidable that George W. Bush's war, in Iraq from 2003 to 2008 or whenever it was, it destabilized the region in a fundamental way.
Absolutely.
It was not a region whose order we approved of, but it wasn't as chaotic as it has become.
This is a text to the show, to us. Pete, I think the European countries are not weighing in because they're worried about Islamic uprisings in their own countries from all the recent immigrants. How's that sound?
I don't think that's their premier worry. I think they're worried about weighing in because they see what's happening today as potentially having follow-on destabilizing effects, and they don't want to endorse fully the position of the United States or Iran. But I don't think they're worried about huge uprisings. I just don't think they have a dog in this fight.
Well, the second time when George Bush goes into Iraq, remember the French don't go. Nobody wants to go because they know the intelligence is just all phony. It's all lies,
Right.
And it was told to them by liars, and so
Yeah.
are they just staying out?
You can look at different episodes, like the war against Iraq in 1990, 1991 was a very clear crossing of a line of international order, and George Bush put together this huge coalition to go in, fulfill this very limited role of pushing Iraq out of Kuwait, and he got the Brits and the French and the Egyptians and the Morocco, everybody. It was a huge coalition.
Everybody went.
Yeah, but then in 2003, the rationale for an invasion of Iraq was constructed on such much more flimsy excuses and much more flimsy intel, and you didn't have the broad coalition. You just had a coalition of the willing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of countries learned that, it was a good thing we stayed out of that because it was a catastrophe. And I think with this administration, European countries are going to be more worried about taking their strategic cues from it because they're suspicious of its motives too.
And I still come back to the question I asked it before the break: who started this? I mean, isn't there a jumping off place somewhere where you can say,
yeah, who's the villain here?
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm dodging your question.
No,
it's terribly complicated in that every generation seems to have a villain that keeps this rivalry going. It's a rivalry between Iran and Israel. It's a rivalry between Iran and the West, between Iran and the United States. And the Iranian government has always been able to sell its legitimacy to its people by saying that the rest of the world, the great Satan, want to take us down, and that can be a stir to nationalism. But finally, what's happened in Iran is that the living conditions have become so terrible that those stirs to nationalism, those sort of setting up a straw man to oppose, don't rally the public as much as the dismal living conditions have rallied it against the regime. So I think that's what's brought us to this condition right now, in which the United States is striking Iran, thinking that it's just on the verge of being tipping over.
And the Shah was not their guy to rally around.
No, the United States has a pretty bad track record of picking people for other countries to rally around.
Yes.
If the United States had a deeper understanding of nationalism and stuff like that, we wouldn't have gotten into the Vietnam War.
Absolutely.
We could have backed the right horse there, and kept nationalistic rallies from tilting against us.
And it happened again and again and again and again and again.
Absolutely. If we had seen foreign policy in the 1900s with a more subtle lens, we could have had a more stable century.
No, we're watching, and I don't know what we're watching. That's why I'm so glad you were with me. I could say, well, but because this is repetitive in many ways, and I'm just not sure.
What's different this time from, say, previous strikes last summer, this is much bigger and much more urban focused, right? The strikes are coming into cities, and you're seeing a more obvious attempt to decapitate the government here than you did with the strikes on the nuclear program.
Yeah, but this is an attempt to change the regime.
Right, exactly.
That's a big bite.
It's a huge bite because you don't know what you're going to replace it with.
Yes, so it's my
I don't know who's waiting in the wings to take over Iran if the Islamic Republic falls, I mean, is it an oil company? Is it oil executives?
Well, what's happened so far in Venezuela? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything new for about an hour and a half now. And what I've seen is that Iran is striking out at these other places that have American bases and stuff like that, but they're not striking out in any way that's effective.
So, final kind of couple of questions. The Iranians who are launching back now, what is their purpose in this? I mean, it's not like they're. Well, I'll just ask it as a question.
You mean like what are they trying to do by striking our base in Bahrain?
Yeah.
They're trying to fight back. They're trying to show that they can fight back. They're trying to complicate things for the American operation, and they're trying to show that they're not going to just roll over and take it. They're going to fight back in any way they can. But the situation is that over the past year and a half, Iran has lost more and more and more of the levers it has been able to pull in the past to strike back at Israel and the United States. It can't do much now except launch some drones. And its ballistic missiles seem to be not entirely effective either.
Will the United States do any invasion on the land, any Iraqi style?
I don't think so. For a couple of different reasons. Number one, you don't see any pre-positioned land forces anywhere. This was designed from the get-go to be a strike from naval and air assets only, with the obvious assumption being that that would be enough. You don't see any sort of Marine units or any sort of Army units, let alone Army units, getting ready to jump off and invade like you did in 2003 in Iraq or 1991 in Kuwait. So this is the assumption is that this is going to be enough to topple the regime.
And it'll be done in a clean manner and.
Well, unless you're sitting under one of the missiles.
Well, I'm saying, but that somebody capitulates, or the Grand Ayatollah is dead, and some civilians step in. I mean, that's the great. Certainly would be my hope.
Yeah, that's the assumption that once this regime is taken out at the top, someone will step up and say, "Okay, we give up. Let's be nice. Let's have peace." I was reading an article this morning that said that's not really how the Iranian regime is constructed now. This is a pretty deeply rooted regime, even though it's unpopular. It's not the case that you knock out one or two people and the thing's going to fall over.
Wow.
So we just have to watch and see what happens next. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen next.
No, I don't. I have no clue. I mean,
and we don't like that, right? We as humans, we want to know what's going to happen next.
Number one,
anxiety.
Number two, can this get nastier, and can it spread, Professor?
It can always get nastier.
Yeah,
and it can always spread.
Yeah,
but I think that the odds of it spreading substantially are less now than they were a few years ago. I think what's going to happen is there's going to be this sustained period of airstrikes, and then we're going to step back and say, okay, anybody want to talk? And if somebody steps up and says, let's talk, then the airstrikes will stop and we'll negotiate.
I always had that thing that said, I'm a big fan of reading all the mob stuff in New York, and it was always, they would sit down, the bosses would sit down when somebody would get whacked and it was unclear or unsure, and they would ask one another, who profits?
Yeah.
And that's who did it.
Who profits from this?
And that's who did it. Yeah, that's who did it. And
we have to ask ourselves, you and I and the people listening, who profits most from a regime change in Iran?
Just what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, and the short term it could be the administration, long term it could be oil companies, medium term it could be Israel.
Yep.
If the Israeli government says, look, we took out what we say is the greatest threat to our existence, then it is the Israeli government's going to think, Netanyahu's going to think that that's going to boost his position with the Israelis. Yeah.
We good on time, Adam? Take a call. All right, Gary, you're on a radio show. Our guest is David Smith at Baylor University. Gary, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, guys. Hey, I think I got an idea of who started this.
Okay.
I think a few weeks ago, all the men that were standing on behind Trump, I think they were from all that area and that Abraham Accord thing, and I think they have a new alliance. And I think they all know about what was going to happen. And I think China and Russia know what was going to happen. And it's all about the energy, right? You know, the natural energy.
I have
I think they're just going to divvy up what they did in kind of like what they're doing in Venezuela.
I always have this theory that I work on, Gary, that if I can't understand it, it's about money.
Yeah, the energy.
Yeah, follow the money.
Yeah, if I can't understand.
The same.
Yeah.
The same thing as always. And then they don't want to conform to whatever kind of alliance or this new thing with Trump. Because just think about it, what's happening in Europe with the immigration. And then as Americans here, we got lucky that for some reason, whatever Trump's doing to stop all the immigration from coming and just destroying our society here. But it's all about the energy.
So how does this end, Gary? How do you think it ends? Now it's starting.
We don't know how it's going to end, but going back through history, it's all planned, ain't it? Or I don't know.
Well,
I hope anyway. I hope it ends for the good of that area in the world.
And I hope you're right.
Because apparently all the men that were standing up there are. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember they were all there?
Yeah, sure.
The board
just 2 weeks ago they were all
thinking about.
Yeah.
Yes. So apparently they agree with what's happening now. I think. I hope.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
And we're the big bad guys that could get the job done and. Hopefully, anyway.
Who calls strike?
But it's different today than it was back then as far as these wars and back in the 90s and stuff. You know, the technologies they're releasing on the rest of the world right now and whatever happened behind the scenes, why Trump's our president right now, it's just something shifted.
So who calls?
Kissinger and all the boys died or something. It's like that old family restaurant that happened back in the 60s, and today that restaurant, you can't eat there no more because
it's fast food.
Just decayed and
yeah, you know, that's a great analysis. To me, and I'm going to come back to the professor. Who says uncle? Who says that's it? Who says they quit?
In this arena right now?
Yeah.
It will have to be someone in Iran stepping up and saying, let's talk. Let's move in the direction that you want to go to the United States. Because the longer this goes to Trump's liking, the less he is likely to call it off.
Gary, thank you for a very good call. Well thought out. Professor, can you go, or do you want to go? Can you stay? Can you give me one more on the other side?
I am at your service.
All right, we'll do one more break on the other side with Professor Smith. 710 KNUS Denver's Talk Station, Saturday, 303-696-1971. The war is on. How does it end? What does the war aim? What does it look like? Stay right here. Your thoughts.
Your 710 KNUS forecast this Saturday. Increasing clouds and mild, highs close to 70. Cloudy tonight, lows down to 40. Not quite as warm for your Sunday with cloudy conditions and gusty winds up to 20 miles per hour. We'll see highs in the low 60s. Some showers developing Sunday night. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
morning again, everyone, on a Saturday, February 28th, 2026. We again have that moment where there is no one on the phones. If you were calling before and got a busy, 303-696-1971, and get right in. Our guest, Professor David Smith. Tell you about Danny Kaplis and Kaplis' law firm. If you want your case to be taken seriously, you indeed, and what proves the truth is to the insurance carriers when you walk in with Kaplis. Dan Kaplis, the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 11 straight seven-figure jury verdicts, including a record $205 million jury verdict in a wrongful death case, the largest truck crash jury verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis, longtime friend, serious firm, serious cases, accepting righteous injury and death cases on a percentage fee basis. He's my guy. There is no upfront fees. There's no charge for the initial consultation. They sit down with you and talk. Dan Kaplis Law, the official law firm now. We've talked about them all the time with the Avalanche, with the Nuggets, and Dan's law firm has offices now in Denver and in Greeley and in Loveland and Fort Collins. If you want your case to be taken seriously, I recommend you call the Kaplis firm. 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit Dan Kaplis, C-A-P-L-I-S Law, Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. Our guest is Professor David Smith from Baylor University, kind enough to be with us this morning, carries the show. All right, so do an overview before you have to go back to your real job. Do an overview of all of this. What do you think we have just watched?
We have just watched the United States strike out against Iran for the initial reason of Iran not giving up its nuclear capabilities and its ballistic missile program, but for the broader reason that the U.S. wants regime change in Iran, and for reasons that would probably have to do with stability in and peace in Israel and things like that. Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing and it's long.
Why is this the country that does those things?
Well, that's a good question. And the short answer is because we can and will. I mean, it's sort of like asking Queen Victoria's Britain in 1877, why are you the world's policeman? Mm-hmm. And Queen Victoria's Britain in 1877 says, because we have interests around the globe and we can strike anywhere.
And the sun never sets.
And the sun never sets on the British Empire, and the sun never sets on U.S. interests.
Precisely.
We're the ones that can do it, and we're the ones who can spin it into something directly advantageous for us.
At the risk of what?
At the risk of unpredictable instability and our lack of being able to manage it. That's the risk.
When I woke up this morning and I saw this and got out of bed and started reading it and I'm going like, all right, it wasn't like I didn't expect it to happen.
Right.
When the buildup started, but then now you're in a shooting war, a real shooting war again. And
where does it go?
From what we have witnessed in shooting wars in the last 40 years, they don't go anywhere.
What Iran is going to want to do is have this morph into something that the United States is less capable of dealing with.
I agree. I totally agree.
As long as this is just the U.S. getting to stand off and rain missiles down on Iran, it's going to go the U.S.'s way. What Iran wants is for the scope of this conflict to change in some way into a way that the U.S. is not advantaged in.
So how do you think, I mean, a friend of mine just sent me a bulletin that the Gulf states, let me find it so I can read it to you correctly. Wrong. Let me jump back again. Gulf states condemn Iranian retaliatory strikes on their territories following U.S.-Israeli operations. Well,
right.
What are they going to do?
Well, the Gulf states aren't going to do anything, but they're going to make it clear that they don't like to be struck just because the U.S. is striking Iran.
Yes, and of course they're the bankers, they're the oil people, they want everything to go smooth. Yes,
and a lot of them in the Persian Gulf host our troops and our military assets. We've got a fleet headquarters in Bahrain, and that's why Iran struck Bahrain. But that doesn't make it any cooler with Bahrain. No,
and how much of a choice did oftentimes do these nation states really have?
Yeah, it's just that now Iran doesn't have the levers of retaliation that it had 5 years ago. It's clearly not afraid. It clearly knows that well, hang on, let me try to say this differently.
Right.
It's evident that Israel is not really afraid of any kind of strike back against it, because Hamas has been taken off the table, Hezbollah has been taken off the table, Syria has been taken off the table, and it emboldens Israel to strike at Iran with less fear of reprisal.
What a great way to end this. I mean, this was so unexpected, and then here you were, and you've been true. I mean, you've made the show happen. As always.
You make the show happen. No. I just get to be part of it.
Anyhow, next time we will do Audie Murphy with Professor David Smith.
I'll look forward to it, buddy.
Take care of yourself, and thank you for doing this today. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome, sir. 303-696-1971. It is now your turn. Well, we are now watching the U.S.-Israel attack on Iran, Operation Epic Fury. The Iranians are firing back. What do you think? 303-696-1971. You don't try and kill the king and miss. Now, apparently the reports are that the Grand Ayatollah may be dead. He may have been killed in his compound on the first wave this morning. How much longer does it go? And what is the war aim? And how do you know that the war is over? And you can ask all those questions. I mean, how many times have, between the Israelis and the United States, have we struck into Iran? Can you ask the magic computer, like how many times, including this morning, have the Israelis and or the United States struck airstrikes into Iran? I think it's more than one. And so this one, according to Donald Trump, will not end until, or will it end before the regime change happens? How do you see this? I mean, I'm serious about this. It is us, and we are watching. So you watch this happen, and you're thinking to yourself, what happens next? Adam's clearing the calls, 303-696-1971. We have been through this before, have we not? 303-696-1971. We go to Gary. You're on the radio show. Good morning. Thank you.
Oh, hi, Peter. I hope you're well.
I am, yeah.
I am totally against this, and the reason why is I think Trump is out of touch with reality. You're well read. I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that Trump doesn't read very much. And I listened to his announcement last night, and it was so obvious that all he was trying to do was pump up his ego. He talked about the last 42 years, and now he's doing something that nobody else had the guts to do, so he's just trying to elevate himself. And he talks about they're going to bomb the hell out of Iran, and then he's going to leave it to the people to uprise.
Yeah.
Now, how the heck are these people going to uprise if they don't have an organized militia to do that?
Well, it's one of the questions that I've been bringing up this morning. What do you do? And apparently, and I say apparently because it's not, well, the Grand Ayatollah may be dead. He was the 86-year-old religious leader of Iran, and he may have been killed in the first strike. Having said that, now what happens? I don't know.
Don't you think he has backups?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And I think the people who are probably most upset about this are the Republicans who are running for Senate and Congress. And personally, that's the one positive. I think Trump has pretty much solidified that the Republican or the Democrats are going to take over the House, and who knows, hopefully the Senate as well, and then we can give Trump a little taste of his own medicine during the last 2.5 years of his administration.
And just the idea that the Democrats come in and their job is to impeach Donald Trump.
And not only impeach him, but strong oversight over all of his agencies as well. And call him to testify in the Epstein case. They already talked about doing that once they take over the House.
So what do you think the purpose of this series of airstrikes is this morning?
I think it's, like I said, Trump just likes to puff up his ego. He just likes to show off that, he got elected president. He has the biggest bomb in town, and he's going to just use it to puff up his ego and just express to the world that, he has the power. And, you were talking about, with your guest, the last topic you were talking to your guest about, I lost track now. It's been a little while. What do you think, Peter?
I am totally unsure. If I'm going to look, there's a text that just said, heck of a price to pay to hide Epstein files. Behind it, it says, Peter, you just met your match, and all the liberals come out of the woodwork like rats when Mr. Smith goes.
Yeah. And Peter, I remember. Oh, sorry.
I think that's aimed at you, but or that I don't know. I mean, I really don't know.
And Peter, when you were talking to your guest, sorry to interrupt. I just want to make one more point. You were asking about European support. I mean, this is the first example of where the way Trump has treated our former friendly countries, they're not going to do anything to support this guy. I mean, he's just basically made enemies that used to be friends. They're not going to get involved for that simple reason.
So, capitalize everything that you're saying. You're saying the strike is to prevent people from learning more about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump?
No, I don't. I can't guess. I mean, Donald Trump's motivation, God knows what they are. I think he's just bombing it to puff up his ego. That's all. I don't think he's even thought about Epstein or anything else. He just wants to bomb and show off that he's got the biggest bomb in the world and he's going to use it.
And how does it end?
It ends badly. I think a lot of people are going to die. Trump always talks about wanting to save people. A lot of Iranians are going to die. A lot of other citizens in other countries in the area are going to die. Possibly American soldiers at bases are going to die, and it will go on for, I don't know, I would guess at least 6 months, and then just like when they bombed the nuclear facility, we'll back off and things will just start over again.
So this is nothing more than that.
Yep. I think people think Donald Trump is a lot more smarter than he is. I don't think he's smart at all. I don't think he reads. I think he's out of touch with reality. I think he's going a little senile.
And so this will go much ado about nothing, or more people will die.
Absolutely.
All right.
There's probably also something in there to enrich him and his family and some of his cabinet members. They're going to somehow come away with some money in their pockets as well.
Thanks for your call, 303-696-1971. What do you think it is all about? Operation Epic Fury, the U.S.-Israel attacks on Iran. I don't think I could say I was shocked given the buildup, but now the reality is setting in. We are now in another war. A lot of attacks on the caller coming up on the screen right now. This saying that this is the nicest one. This caller couldn't be more wrong. That's the nicest thing that was said in a series of text messages that came in. 303-696-1971. What are we watching taking place? What are we watching happen? We'll do a turnaround and come back with your calls. 303-696-1971. Stay here. I'm Peter Boyles, 710 KNUS. this is true, isn't it? Dean Martin. It's always in mob movies now they play this. That's a kick in the head. Saturday morning, February 28th, 2026, 710 KNUS. 70 the high today, 65 tomorrow, and 67 on Monday. Do you expect a retaliation now? We were talking off air, Adam and I. Read you a couple of quick text messaging. TDS Saturday on KNUS. I think it means Trump, that syndrome that people think people had derangement. Pete's Peanut Gallery, Rampart, TDS. Yeah, I guess the rule of the, let me see, one more. Peter and Adam, incredibly fascinating, challenging time, not only with what's happening in Iran, but Venezuela. Certainly a hope for the people to be able to come out from crushing regimes. However, does the end justify the means? Our track record is terrible, and we never seem to learn from history. To Pete's question, these events might not truly reveal themselves until 2030, years from now. And what are we creating for the next generation? Well, it seems to be like a rule. If somebody is remotely critical of Donald Trump, it's a big no-no on this radio station. We'll see. I don't think so. 303-696-1971. My friend is David Ellison. We'll go to the phones. You've heard me telling you about David and taking your cash to David Ellis Jewelers to get a fortune in cash. Secure an appraisal from David for all those valuables that you have tucked away in your home. It's still true. Let me show you other reasons to see David. Just in case you don't have a Rolex watch, rare coins, or a silver tea set, go see David Ellis for all the most meaningful gift-giving occasions that you have. David Ellis Jewelers, just one of them is coming up. And again, Easter's coming your way again. And David Ellis Jewelers, just the right items for just the right price for special people in your life. An antique watch, an emerald pendant, a gold necklace, a diamond ring. Trusted jeweler David Ellis been buying precious metals and antiques in Colorado for decades. Dazzling display cases filled with hundreds of new and used pieces that your loved ones will love. Visit David Ellis Jewelers to see for yourself. Look for the black awning on the corner of 3rd and Clayton and Cherry Creek. DavidEllisJewelry.com. 3rd and Clayton. There's a black awning on the corner of 3rd and Clayton. That's David Ellis Jewelers. Call my friend David at 303-322-8779. 303-322-8779. And tell David Ellis Peter Boyles sent you. All right, with a line open, we go to Gunga Din. You're on the show. Good morning.
Good morning. I think, Trump is so afraid of the Epstein files, which he's managed to cover up, and they've disappeared now, and, stuff like that, that he has no concern about countries, people's lives, our men and women's lives, that he starts a war to get everybody's mind off the Epstein files. And I know you've mentioned that several times, but I agree with probably a large part of your listeners. I don't know about that, but anyway, I think it's just the cover-up.
You're not alone, and people have written editorials already about that this morning, that the concept is called wag the dog.
Yeah, right.
And that they're trying to, train your vision elsewhere.
Exactly.
And you believe that? Oh,
I definitely do. Because Trump has no morals, no concern about his fellow man. Anything that will profit him. Now he's a billionaire, which, but his sons run because, bull, No, this is just a way for him to make more money. He's so old. I mean, he's old, so I don't see why he cares about building up all this, he's a sick individual. He has he's a disgrace to the presidency, I believe.
Right. Thank you for your call. We will go here. Ted in Aurora. Ted, you're on the radio show. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Peter. My analysis of the strike on Iran is reminiscent of Sarajevo. We don't know what's going to happen next.
Man.
But
That's good. That's very good. In fact, that's excellent. What do you expect to see happen next? The war is on. What do you expect to see happen next?
Peter, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've thought about it for the last 2 or 3 days. There's going to be another incident somewhere, somehow. But I think in reality, these things always escalate in one way or another.
It definitely has now. It's the it's out of the bag. The cat's out of the bag. The war's on.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know what the answer is, but as always, when I tune in Saturday morning, I get a lot of good insight. So congratulations.
You get yelled at. You're kind. Get me yelled at. Thank you.
Listen,
yes, sir.
Stay well.
I promise. I'll try. Thanks,
Okay.
Ted. Be safe. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, we go to Chris in Denver. Chris, you're on the radio show. Good morning.
Hey, Peter. Good morning.
Hey,
How
man.
are you?
I'm good.
I'm glad to hear it. So I think that we're in a Iran situation because of Israel, and I know that that comes with a certain stereotype in my thinking. But my thinking is that Israel views this administration as its last opportunity to topple Iran, and so they threatened to use nuclear weapons, and so Trump really had no other choice but to go in and support them.
There's all these multiple kinds of, warheads that you can put on the ideology of this morning's strike. That it's you eliminate the other people who don't want to go with you. We and the Israelis are going along together. Does this mean the end of the regime? Is it for oil? Is it for the state of Israel? Or is it for both? Is it for, fill in the blanks? What is this about?
Yeah, I think it's multifaceted, like you said. But I do think that there's a component of the distraction with Epstein, like it's been mentioned.
Right.
But ultimately, I do believe it is because Israel wanted to rope us into doing their dirty work for them.
How does it end?
Unfortunately, I see a lot of death and destruction, unfortunately, and I think we're going to end up right back where we were. We already, quote unquote, obliterated their nuclear program, and we already had the Iran nuclear deal. And so we're just going to end up right back in the same situation with the Shah, who I think is mistakenly being seen as American friendly. And so I think we're just going to end up right back where we are, unfortunately.
The book King of Kings that I keep recommending, there was a lot of anger in the Shah's family because of how Jimmy Carter treated the Shah in the end, and how without Jimmy Carter, I don't know if the Shah would have gone. I mean, he may have died.
Oh,
yeah, as well too. But there's
absolutely.
There's anger. There's anger.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people forget that the Ayatollah is only in power because of us, just like you said.
Yeah.
Just another war, unfortunately.
Another war. Thank you for your call. I look up on my screener. We have a former Iranian officer. He's on hold. Hey, Adam, ask him to hold and stay with us. I really want him on the show. Yep. All right. So we go into the afternoon hour now coming up. This was a really fast 6 hours. You're just joining us. You know what's going on in the world and get everybody's thoughts. We have a former Iranian officer who says some of the information is wrong. His call right out of the box. Hang on.